There's a lot of terrible gardening advice on the internet, and over the years at Epic, we've sliced through some of that, much like I have with my giant pumpkin here. But in today's video, we're actually gonna give you 7 different hacks that seem crazy and look crazy, but actually work. Unlike traditional propagating techniques that require you to separate the plant from itself, so taking a cutting, air layering allows you to do it on the plant itself. And it starts out with a knife and a circular cut right around a younger stem. And then you want to come up about 1 inch or so and make that same cut in a circle as best you can. You might have to go over it once or twice just to kind of get in there. You don't want to cut too deep. You want to cut just through that skin layer. And then you'll take your knife and bring a vertical cut that is sort of parallel to the direction of the stem itself. And all you're trying to do is separate this outer bark layer from the interior flesh of this stem. So I've now exposed the cambium layer, and this is where the magic happens. It can produce roots from this area. And when I did this a few months ago, I used a few things to get the job done. Number 1, of course, the knife to make the initial cut, but then I needed something to enclose this cut area. I used propagation balls. They're black, so they're opaque. They don't let in light. And then I put some coconut coir in with a little bit of water and a little bit of rooting hormone, which is not even necessary, clamped it around and just waited. So after a couple months, when I unclamped the ball, you could see this beautiful root ball here. And all you need to do at that point is cut right underneath, thus propagating the plant on the living plant, which guarantees a much better transplant as opposed to doing it from a pure cutting. And I'll show you what it looks like right now. Air layering is a great technique for stuff that is hard to propagate from cuttings. If I was to take a cutting of this fig, well, figs actually root like crazy, so you don't have to do it this way, but maybe I was trying to do an apple tree or a citrus tree. They'll just rot in the water. So air layering is a way to access some of the harder to clone plants. If you've watched our channel before, first of all, welcome back. But second, you know that we have had a field day roasting these regrowing vegetable scraps hacks that you see all over the internet. But the truth is, some of them are actually somewhat practical. So take this lettuce right here. Now this, if I shook the roots off, this is probably what would be sold as living lettuce at the grocery store. You can find it almost anywhere in the country, and they're actually doing you a great service. So if I was to harvest this lettuce, I would cut it off, not right here, which would be a big mistake. I would actually want to cut it off right above this crown or this growth point that's right in the center here. So I'll cut this off and I'll just show you. There you go. I have not damaged the crown. You can see these smaller leaves that are wanting to come out here. So if you ever were to go to, let's say, a farmer's market, or you got lettuce from the grocery store, etc., you don't even need this part technically. You could do it without the roots, but it's a hell of a lot easier with the roots. I can actually just take this and replant this directly into the garden. And as a general rule of thumb for regrowing veggie scraps hacks, the ones that are worth your time are the ones that regrow new leaves. Don't worry so much about planting a beet or a carrot or a broccoli back in the garden. You're eating a different part than the leaves of those plants. If it's a lettuce or a green onion or even a larger bulbing onion, something like a kale, spinach, etc., as long as this crown is preserved and this base is still intact to some degree, it can produce new roots, which means it can produce new greens, which is what you eat, and that makes this hack actually worth it. This next hack is something I came up with earlier this spring when I had some potatoes that I wanted to plant, but still wanted to use that bed for production. And I call it the Subterranean Planting hack. Now what you need is, of course, some kind of root crop that is planted deep, that needs time to sprout and come up before it throws its leaves out and then grows into the beautiful potatoes that I know and love so much so that I'll even eat this one raw. Here is how this method works. You want to take a potato, it can be sprouting, it can not be sprouting, doesn't really matter, and plant it about 6-8 inches deep. In a raised bed like this, I might plant about 8 of these, and then I know I have at least 2 weeks, probably closer to 4 to 6 weeks before the sprout of the potato makes it to the top, which means I can grow anything that takes less than that long on the surface, even if it's from seed. So I could put something like this bok choy, this mustard, this lettuce, this spinach, kale, whatever the season calls for, right above. And then when I start seeing the potato shoots coming out of the ground here, I can then do a clear harvest, let the potatoes come up, and voila, I have doubled, in a vertical sense, the amount of produce I'm getting out of just one bed. Whether you're a seed starter like myself, or you go to the the nursery and buy a bunch of starts, sometimes the price adds up and sometimes you just want to make a little bit more bang for your buck. And that is where this hack comes in. I find at the nursery, I don't know what it is, but everyone overseeds the tray. And it happens a lot with things like onions. You'll also find beans have 2 to 3. Basil, it's like they just sprinkle a whole packet in there and sell it. I don't know what the deal is, but it's actually your advantage. So I'll show you what I like to do. What you want to do is just roll it between your hands really gently. And then I like to kind of shake it around a little bit and gently tease out each of the individual seedlings. If some of the roots rip, it's actually totally fine. If I was buying, let's say, a classic 6-pack or 6 plants in one little plastic pack at the nursery, I have just now multiplied this into at least 8 to 10 in just one of those cells. So from 6 all the way up to about 50-ish plants. And you can plant these onions individually in the garden and you'll have an amazing, amazing yield. And this also works if you're starting your own from seed. We've started all these onions from seed, in fact, and we've oversowed them just a bit. Now, you could plant just like this if you wanted. That's sort of a Charles Dowding multi-sowing technique that you may have seen from one of my personal gardening favorites here on YouTube. You can do it that way with bulbing onions or with beets or with something that has a sort of bulbous root swelling, because it'll actually push away from each other and they won't compete too much on nutrients. But with something like an onion, I like to separate them out and space them perfectly and really multiply my dollar, whether I'm starting from seed or I just bought this for about $4 at the nursery. These weird looking stick-like creatures are actually a plant that we all know and love and grow every single summer. And it's a fantastic way to get that same plant to come back. And of course, I'm talking about the humble, sweet and spicy world of peppers. So what I did here is I did something called overwintering peppers. You can do this in any zone, no matter where you live. But if you're in a colder zone, you want to do what I've done here and actually dig your peppers out of the ground if they were planted in ground, or take the containers and move them to a nice sheltered area for the winter. But the real key here is cutting down about 2/3 of the plant's growth. And it gives you a chance to kind of landscape and prune and structure this plant in a way that's going to make it come back really strong next year. I've seen people, I've got about a 3-year-old pepper, I've seen people go over 10 years with the same exact pepper. And the reason you'd want to do this is if you're in a cold zone, it gives you a head start on the season. Imagine if my frost just clears up in April and I get to put this in the ground instead of a seed or a seedling. Obviously, I'm going to be getting peppers way sooner. And if I'm in a cold zone, that is priceless. If I'm in a warm zone, you say, why do this? There's no point. You're kind of right, but at the same time, you could just leave this in the ground and it'll come back. You don't have to worry about planting it next year. But I'll share with you why I personally do it. It's because I have certain peppers that are producers for me. I know I want them every year. Jalapenos, shishitos, Thai chilies. Every single year, I want those peppers. So why not take the same plant and bring it back every single year? It's only gonna get bigger. It's only gonna get more prolific. I personally find that very valuable. And then some of the more fun varieties, maybe even some of the ones we stock at Botanical Interests, I will start from seed and experiment with the next year. So overwintering, you can do this also with eggplants and a couple other vegetables, but peppers really are the one to go for. It is a sleeper hack that you should not ignore this season or any season thereafter. Standing here behind my pride and joy, a massive sweet potato bush that I cannot wait to harvest from. And this next hack I learned from Jacques on our team. So you've got potatoes, which pretty much you can just throw in the ground and they'll sprout. But sweet potatoes, what you would typically do is take a mason jar, fill it up with water, stab some toothpicks in the side, put the sweet potato in the water, wait until this sprout comes out, break the sprout off, then put that sprout in water, let that root, and then plant that in the garden. The way that Jacques has done it only requires a milk carton and a sweet potato. So what you'll do is you'll cut the milk carton open, fill it up with a potting mix of choice, and then put a sweet potato in laying on its side instead of up like the mason jar. And what will happen is the sweet potato slips will come out of the top and they'll sort of bend upwards, but they're close enough to the soil that they actually start developing roots on the sweet potato itself. You can then chop that off and plant it. So you actually skip the double rooting process that you would normally do with a sweet potato. It's a fun method. Sweet potatoes are a beautiful, plentiful and delicious crop, so I highly recommend you give this one a shot. This hack has to do with one of the most popular plants of all time, the humble tomato. But in this hack, you don't just grow a simple tomato vine and let it go and harvest whatever you want. You in fact start growing one, cut off the top and put another tomato on top in a process known as grafting. Now, the reason you would want to do this is because sometimes the rootstock or the plant that's below the ground has certain genetic benefits that the plant above the ground that's grown for the flavor and the fruit doesn't have. So by combining them, hello there, Butter. Oh, she thinks she's gonna get, oh. So by combining them, you get the best of both worlds. And it sounds crazy and high risk, but it's actually quite simple. And here's how we did it. Step one, we're gonna come in with our tool. We're gonna match the tomato stem into this little cutting channel here. I'm gonna go low because I want that width on the stem. And then the painful part, quick clip. We're gonna bring forward our rootstock tomato. What I'm gonna do here is try to match. It's roughly about there or so. There we go. Now in this case, I didn't perfectly match these, but I think I'm still gonna be okay. So what I wanna do now is I'm gonna grab this little clip, this little attachment clip, and I'm gonna slide in the top into this clip right here. And then what I wanna do is come on this side and perfectly match this to that cut. So there you go. You can tell by the color difference that I've made that graft. And then the nice thing about these particular clips is you've got this little popsicle stick I can throw down here to adhere it and make it go straight up like that. Fun little hack I found out a few years ago is you can grow your own shower sponge. This is a loofah gourd. I've done a whole grow guide right here. Good luck in the garden, my friends. Stay hacking and keep on growing.